Welcome to the Swine Health Black Belt Podcast, the latest swine health research digested for you. My name is Dr. Clayton Johnson with Carthage Veterinary Service, and I'm your host for today's episode. Joining me today from the University of Saskatchewan is Agbee Kpogo. Agbee, welcome to the podcast. Thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you, too.
Agbee, we've had an opportunity to connect and talk a little bit about your research, but for the people listening to the podcast that maybe haven't met you yet, could you introduce yourself and tell them a little bit about your background?
Okay, thank you. As you said, my name is Agbee. I came into Canada in 2017, September. I actually originate from Ghana in West Africa, and I had my undergrad there. I came to Canada to do my master's degree. And I worked with Dr. 𝗟𝗫𝗁𝗀 at the University of Saskatchewan. We studied the effect of feeding wheat meal run in swine diet on greenhouse gases. So it was more sustainability related. And in 2020, just before the end of 2020, I was almost done. And then I got opportunity to do my Ph.D. also in the same university, but under a different supervisor. My current supervisor is Dr. 𝗟𝗶𝘀𝗁𝗃, and I also work with Dr. 𝗦𝗽cie𝗁𝗃 at the veterinary college. I've been there for 2 years where I am studying we're looking at gastric ulcers in pigs when fed swine diet or when fed pea diet. I've actually, I've listened to this podcast and I've heard people say they grew up on farms, and unfortunately, I didn't grow up on any farm, but my interest with pigs and with animals in general came when I was very little, where I started liking animals. And so I decided to take a career in animals and pigs. Yeah.
You and I share a similar background, Agbee. I also did not grow up in a farm. In a small town, I grew up in a farming community, but also not on a farm. But I had interest with pigs, and from an early age, I never had any shortage of opportunity to work with pigs. So we may have started in different places in the world, but it's always neat to see how people can come together with common interests. You mentioned ulcers, Agbee. So it's the beginning of August right now as we're recording this. Ulcers are a very hot topic every summer because that's typically when we see issues. Could you tell us a little bit about ulcers in pigs in general? And then, what's the focus of your research? What are you trying to help us better understand with ulcers in pigs?
Okay, thank you very much. So ulcers have been, like you said, they've been a very interesting topic. When it comes to the causes of ulcers, there are thousands and thousands of causes in literature as to what causes ulcers. And so that is usually the headache of farmers and producers. But when it comes to the exact causes or things that trigger it, people cannot really pinpoint. It feels like the ulcer it's caused... there are triggers of it. There are a number of things that triggers the ulcers. So you can't really say it's caused by one thing or it's caused by the other. And so that is why we came up with a study. One of the reasons why we came up with a study is because people relate ulcers to diet. And so one of the aspect of diet they related to also is the particle sizes. So in Canada currently, Canada produces millions of tons of peas per year. And even though most of these peas are exported, or some of them are exported, and usually the downgraded part, which is not good for the human industry, is put in animal diet. Recently, because of the increase in plant protein and the interest in plant protein consumption, pea is one of the main ingredients for that. And so one of the byproduct of the pea, the pea from the plant protein, is the air-classified pea starch. This air-classified pea starch is very easy to get from the production of this pea plant protein. However, with sustainability and the push for sustainability, this byproduct, instead of ending up in the landfills, we're planning to put it in swine diet, because the swine are very good converters of these byproducts into protein, high quality protein. However, the challenge here is because the air classified pea starch is very, very small, which it could be about 10 microns. The challenge is putting them in the diet and it's triggering the ulcers. But we do not know that for sure. And so that is why we took this study. So for this study, our main aim was to investigate the physiological changes that occur when the pigs are fed the pea starch diet. So we were going to look at, into details with the experiment, we're going to look at the acid secretion in the stomach when the pigs consume the pea starch diet. We're also going to look at the changes in gene expression, if there's any, and also changes in mucus expressions in the stomach. And then we're also going to look at the changes in the microbiome, because some literature attribute ulcers to microbiome or the change in bacteria in the stomach. So we're also going to have the opportunity to look at that. Now, the aim of this is going to point in the direction where we can feed the pea starch to pigs, and we're sure that they are going to be fine, because some people do not see gastric ulcers as a problem. However, when it gets to like very critical stages, then it could cause death, but people do not see it as a problem. However, when it comes to welfare issues, it's good to know that the pigs are consuming food and they are very well and healthy. So that is why we came up with a study.
Very good. You know, I'm probably going to oversimplify it, Agbee, but is it true that when pigs have ulcers, it's really just a problem with an empty stomach, meaning that the particle size is the problem because the stomach clears the lower particle size feed ingredients faster than if we have a larger particle size? Is that a correct statement to make?
Well, we do not know that for sure, but that is one of the hypotheses we have for our study. But we do not know that for sure. I can't say that is it for sure.
Well, certainly there's many reasons why the stomach could be empty, right? Pigs could be sick. Maybe the feeders are empty. Maybe it is a low particle size ingredient that's passing through quickly. Do you have any controls in your research that would be maybe pigs that are held off feed for a period of time so that you create that empty stomach and then investigate the acid production, the microbiome, all those parameters you're measuring?
So that is a very good question, and that leads me to the pilot study we've done so far for the study, where we try to investigate the feeding the pea starch diet and introducing a feed out event, and we're trying to look at that on the general growth performance and also on the ulcers from the pigs. And so what we did was we gave the pigs we gave them about 40% pea starch diet, and in 2 weeks, we took the feed from them. We had 3 different feed outages. We had a 0 hour where they had feed throughout. We had a 16-hour outage, and then we had a 24-hour outage. Now, when we did that, after the 24 hours, we reintroduced the feed back to them, and then we followed them to market and collected their stomachs. And what we found out was that with the 24-hour feed outages, all the pigs had ulcers. Interestingly, 83% of the pigs that were with the feed throughout, that didn't have a feed out, also had ulcers. So in our conclusion, one of the things we saw was that regardless of the feed outage, there was ulcers being caused, and so we were attributing it to be probably the diet. However, as I said, this is a pilot study. This is only guiding us because one of the things we wanted to find out is to investigate the physiological changes in the pigs due to the pea starch diet. We wanted to find out if they were even going to get ulcers from the beginning. And so that answered our question of the feed outage, saying blocking of the bins and the pig not having feed and everything. And that showed us that the pigs could get ulcers even without any feed outage.
Excellent. And so you mentioned, Agbee, that is a pilot study. Are you doing follow-up research to further investigate that?
Yes. So as we're currently speaking, we're currently undergoing another study where we're actually doing graded levels of pea starch in the diet, and we're measuring the performance and also looking at the gastric ulcers in the pigs. And so we're going to come up with a more concrete answer to that, and we're currently doing that at the moment.
Outstanding. Outstanding. Well, thank you very much, Agbee, for that information. We look forward to having you back on the podcast as you finish up that study and are able to share more information with us. I want to thank you, Agbee, for coming on the show, and to everybody in our audience, thank you very much for joining us here today. Please, if you have not subscribed to the Swine Health Black Belt podcast, like us so that we can show up on recommendations when people are looking for swine-related podcasts. If you haven't been to our website, please visit us at swinehealthblackbelt.com. And if you're interested in coming on to the show, please don't hesitate to drop myself or anybody at the SwineIt team an email. We would love to host you and talk about your research. For Agbee Kpogo, I'm Dr. Clayton Johnson, and this has been Swine Health Black Belts Podcast. Thanks and have a great day.
Hey everyone, we're always searching for the latest and greatest research to share each week. If you have a swine health related research trial and would like to come on the show to talk about it with me and share it with our audience, feel free to send an email to healthblackbelt@swineit.com, and we would love to take a look at your research.